Thanks for joining the HomeMatters podcast with Eric and Gena Boggs, where they lead authentic, raw discussions about marriage, family life, kids, intimacy, and sex from a biblical perspective. Now here's your host, Eric and Gena Boggs.
Well, welcome to HomeMatters.
We are glad you're here.
So
Podcast number 43. I'm keeping up.
Number 43, Richard Petty.
Okay.
Dated myself there a little bit.
You caught me off guard. Sorry. I'm not a race fan.
Also, your son's football number.
That's what I thought of. Yep.
43. We're going to talk today about an important subject.
That's right.
One of my favorite subjects.
Oh, and anybody want to guess what that is? Food?
I like food. Now, we're going to talk a little.
Potatoes?
You know, and we don't apologize. I don't want to be too blunt or raw, but I know we can be. I can be more so probably than
he is
Gena.
more than me.
But at the same time, we don't make any apologies about addressing this issue or this topic.
That's right. We're going to talk about sex today. Is that okay?
Yep. And
That's your favorite topic?
Yes, I like sex. But, the thing is it's like Jimmy Evans said, if you don't think sex is important.
That's what I was thinking about his quote.
Just ask the people who are not getting any. So, that's true, I guess, to a degree. But it is something that I think that in our world today is so skewed, is so distorted as far as what it's for and its purpose and God's design for it.
Well, we forget that it was God's big idea to start with.
Always got to point
God's
that out.
plan. And, kind of as we go into this today, let's just throw some questions out there, maybe for you married couples. What is your sex life like with your husband, with your wife? Is it what you dreamed of, when you're engaged and you're about to get married and you're standing at the altar, or you're in the courthouse or you're in the venue or wherever, and you just kind of got it all planned out in your head, what it's going to be like and how amazing it's going to be. Is it what you thought?
Yeah. You asking me?
I'm asking
I will say
but
this,
you can go ahead and answer
part
if you need to.
of God's design has exceeded all expectations.
Thank you, Lord.
And with that, again, is something that, through the help of God himself and through trying to look in the right direction and trying to make it what God wants it to be, that...
you said through God's help. Let's just throw this out there. If you listen to us you probably heard us say this, but you can't compartmentalize your life and put your sex life as husband and wife outside of your spiritual life, your relationship with God, because he created it. He's there when it happens, right?
when you have sex, when you have intercourse,
God is there. All of that
expression. And again, he designed it that way.
Yes, he did.
And what we do is we do compartmentalize it and make that part of our life where we treat God, and we say it this way, when we get our wild thing on, we lock God outside the bedroom, or we lock him outside the house and then let him back maybe later on. But the fact is as believers that Jesus, his presence, his spirit is always with us. And again, that.
Maybe you need to hear this. God smiles upon that. He encourages us in his word, to enjoy that part of our life. He speaks to it in several different places. Proverbs, 1 Corinthians, Ephesians, Song of Solomon.
And when we made it dirty, or we've made it just erotic from the world's viewpoint, that's where I think we get in trouble, and we lack the fulfillment, the fullness of what God intended for it to be.
So
I think when we bring all of that in, there's always a lack there that'll never be enough. It'll never be right. Never be fulfilling. Because the thing is when you get on that kick, it just it goes from one thing to another. You never find satisfaction.
We talk about intimacy a lot, and realizing that intimacy is not always sex, that, intimacy is our conversation, it's our oneness, it's our togetherness. It's the romantic part of our hand holding or kissing or touching one another, our affection for one another. But as well, our intimacy does include the act of sex that God has given us, that God's given this marriage relationship. And
only in this marriage relationship.
Right. Let's make that clear. That's the only place that God said that's okay, right?
Yeah.
In the marriage relationship.
And, people think out there, they think that, we got to, if we could just have a little adventure, or, I wonder what that's like, or he's like, or she's like. The fact is ultimately, none of that is the answer.
That's right.
And a lot of people, guys especially, I think, deal with this. They think, well, I wonder if that would be. Ultimately, it's not any different from a physical standpoint. But the fact is people who get on that road to try to find satisfaction only find disappointment and letdowns.
And hurt, right?
And hurt, yeah.
Right. That intimate part, though, that I was talking about, the physical act of sex builds that intimacy. Intimacy, yes, comes from these other places that I mentioned. But another quote that we had from Jimmy Evans, I think kind of captures this. I love it. He said, "Good sex in marriage makes each partner more fond of one another and drawn to one another in healthy ways." Mm-hmm. So I think that intimate part we have to understand is not just sex, but the sex part of it does bring more fulfillment and bring us closer together in the intimate place.
Yeah, and the time that's taken with that, the time that you take with each other, again, and that's something that so many times that we have to realize that God does encourage in marriage.
He does. To
the point that Paul said, he said, I don't say this by command, but he says, I encourage you not to hold yourself from each other. Mm-hmm. Again, that's a part of knowing and being together that can only be shared with one person on the planet.
That's right.
And again, it does build your life in so many different ways. Actual sex in itself, intercourse in itself, there's a place of oneness there that you enjoy, that God created and designed. And for you to be willing to step out there and let God make that a strength of your life.
That's right. It can be a strength to your relationship.
Everybody's different. I mean, again, marriages are different. Sex drive is different. Desires are different.
Yes.
But again, if you'll allow God, He'll lead you into places where you can learn to enjoy. I always say it this way: men, sexuality for men, sex for him is usually instinctive. It is instinctive. He don't have to learn his body,
right? Like
a woman.
He has to learn her body, though.
Yeah,
right?
he learn her, but even she has to learn her body,
right?
Where a man is instinctive for a man, for our wives, it is learned. It is something that you need to realize that there may be different places or times or cycles that a woman's body goes through. Yeah. Well, but especially with a woman, again, I'm talking about sex itself. Okay.
Exactly.
It's not something that's very complicated for a man, but for women it can be. And I'll say this: complicated for women and confusing for men.
Confusing. Yeah, we confuse them. But I would say another thing is, with that part of our life, a lot of times I think people just depend on the spontaneity. They just depend on the feel like they want to, or the drive to kick in. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. But I think even in our sex life, we have to be intentional.
Yeah. Spontaneity's good now.
Spontaneity's good, but I think in the marriage relationship, we can't always depend just upon the spontaneity in a relationship. Because listen, if you have a bunch of little ones in your house, if work is stressful, if your hours are long, it pulls from that spontaneity. And there may be times where if you're just depending on spontaneity, it ain't happening.
You're asleep.
You know what I mean? Yeah. She gone.
Yeah, you wore out.
He's out.
I understand what you're saying.
But with that, what I'm saying is you can't just depend on the spontaneity all the time. Yeah. I think for the healthy relationship, there are times when you have to be intentional. Hey, as husband or wife, we need this time in our relationship.
And in marriage, here's what God gives you. He gives you this freedom.
Thank you, Lord.
that
Right?
you're to enjoy. The Proverbs, enjoy the wife of your youth.
That's right.
That means that even when she's not as young, you still enjoy her. You still enjoy her. You find satisfaction with her. Even says, that you're satisfied at with her body. I won't say it all, but again,
You won't?
yeah.
Read Proverbs 5. It'll tell you what part to be satisfied with, right?
And with that, there's a place that you can find freedom.
Yeah.
Understanding this is God's provision,
To
God's
be
blessing for your
right?
life.
To explore,
Yeah.
to just allow this part of your life to be a part of your life that is a source of enjoyment and strength and even fun. Can I use that word?
Yeah, it's productive in more ways than just having children.
That's right.
Yeah, it's productive in your love relationship. It's productive in your knowing one another.
Right.
Again, my wife and I, you don't have to guess at this. We have a pretty healthy, intimate life, but just being with her, it's not just the act of sex. It's the knowing one another. It's the
intimate piece, really.
It's the sharing with the life.
That's
it's
right.
the sharing of each other that that we get to enjoy together. That God designed for marriage, and
It's always a point of reconnection. Not just reconnection in the physical. Yes, it's that. But reconnection should be going on in that time in the emotional and even, hold on now, even in the spiritual. Even in the fact that, together we love God, we love each other, we invite Him into that part of our life.
Yeah.
And so it is a point of reconnect, of just renewing the covenant again.
Yeah.
Let me put it that way.
And we like to say this gifts God's gift to us, gifts God's gift.
You getting all mixed up.
us.
Lighten up.
Yeah.
You okay?
But it's just that the world, sometimes we look at our world and it's so mixed up when it comes to sexuality, and it's it's really sad. I understand. I was subject to a lot of stuff in my own life. I've been subjected to a lot of stuff growing up. And we get our attention set on all these different persuasions, these perversions. And, the enemy has a way of making that stuff look very attractive. And what's sad to me is knowing that is hurt. That is, again, that's shame. There's a lot of shame in that type of sexual deviation, or and knowing that there's so much in marriage, and I'm not talking about people that are unmarried. I'm talking about married couples, even
That's right. Husband
even
and
Christ
wife.
followers. That there's so much that lacks there, and there's so much that's not being satisfied or fulfilled because somehow we've got this mind that Hollywood or the porn industry or the sex industry now. That's the place that you go to find.
They figured it out.
Yeah, that's where you explore. That's adventure. That's excitement. And it's really sad because, we know that leads to destruction.
It does.
A lot of pain. And a lot of victims out there.
That's true.
When we know what God can create in our marriage, when we know the height of fulfillment, the sexual fulfillment, the sexual connection, and the desires that are being met. And that's sad when I think that there's so many people that have the wrong ambition,
Right.
or they have the wrong thought when it comes to where you find that.
Listen, if you're Christian, if you're a believer listening to us right now, you should know that there are no couples on the planet that can have better sex than you can.
Right.
Because we look out there, like Eric said, we looked at all these other places, and the adventure, but no, the creator of this intimate relationship, the boundaries that He's given us, we're living inside of those, and within those, there's all the freedom in the world. You said it just a little bit ago.
Yeah.
And God is blessing. God is happy about our intimate relationship, our sexual relationship, and in that. And even it's been proven, if you want to throw stats out there, but it's been proven that married, monogamous, Husband, wife, couples, relationships, they're the most satisfied. They're the most fulfilled. They're enjoying one another. There's no guilt. There's all the freedom in the world. And
that freedom's big. Right?
Yeah. And if that is you, listen, if you are not enjoying that, all right, husband, wife, Christian husband and wife, then we challenge you. How can I say this? Just go after everything God has for you.
Great book by Ed Young. We refer to it. This is a plug for that book, Pure Sex. He lists 6 things that we use in our getaways on 6 things that God says no to in His Word. And we always say it this way. He says no to those things, and you can
just
go
a few things. That's right.
There's 6 things there that God says no to, but outside of that, you can have
all the freedom in the world.
You can have a lot of fun together.
That's right.
And a lot of adventure together. Take a hike, or go parking or something. Do something different.
Somebody out there saying, "I want to tell him to take a hike." No, don't do that.
But what we're saying is, there's plenty of room for you to explore,
right?
And for you to enhance and increase the sensitivity and all the technique and all of that you can learn as you go together.
You can still learn something. Come on, you don't know everything, right?
That's right.
There's always
and you can learn it the right way.
That's right.
Throw that out there. You can learn it the right way. But again, we're just encouraging you, if you're listening out there, don't look to the world.
That's right.
Don't look to all the deception out there and say, that's where I can find fulfillment or satisfaction. That's just not true. It's not true, and it's proven over and over again, the shame, the guilt, and all that goes along with that. So we're just saying that God has a plan, God has a way, and as a married couple, all you married couples out there, you ought to look for ways that you just maximize your sexual relationship to make it everything it can be. Look, you're not always, you're not always going to have fireworks going off.
Really?
There may be times that may be a little less than others. You know what I'm talking about. There are times, the cycles, there's not as much activity, or other times it seems to be more. As a man, we love it when our wife initiates, and we love when she seems to have stronger desire. We love those times of the month. But again, it's not always that way, right?
That's right. Sorry.
There are times that we're just kind of figuring it out, but then there are those times that you really find, man, you can
even in those times though, we still have to commit, I think, to the sexual needs of our spouse, and to what they need and what they desire, and in that we have to be able to communicate that as well. I mean, you got to be able to talk about it.
We have couples ask, well, how many times a week should we be having sex? Whatever the highest demand is, wherever the highest sex drive is. If my sex drive is higher than my wife's, my wife's. Let me say that right.
Say that right.
WIFES, my apostrophe S. My wife's desire. If my desire is stronger than hers, then she ought to do everything she can to fulfill that. And that flip-flops sometimes. Sometimes the wife has a stronger desire.
Yeah.
About 20% of couples, the wife has a higher sex drive. And
that's right.
so again, you ought to commit to being able to say, hey, I'm going to do everything I can to meet that sexual need in my spouse and my spouse's life. But again, you communicate that.
Yeah. Listen, and can we say this? Just commit to purity too in your relationship. You're hearing us say, hey, enjoy, have fun, there's freedom, but you still should commit to purity in your relationship. Purity, and that includes our eyes, what we're looking on, our thoughts, what we allow in our thoughts. But we do keep that marriage bed pure.
Yeah.
There's freedom there, but we must be committed to purity and not let other influences.
And I'll say it this way. Purity is found in a monogamous marriage, in relationship is committed to each other, committed to God. That's where purity is found. That's where a marriage bed is pure. Hebrews 13:4, pure and undefiled. Right. That's where it's found. And ultimately, again, when you have issues, work through those.
That's right.
When you have sexual issues, again, a lot of couples deal with a lot of different stuff. But let's finish with this. Get help.
That's right. If you got issues, There are things you're dealing with. You know, there can be medical issues. There can be medications that are causing you issues that you might not even know. Yeah, look, it's important, all right? This part of your relationship's important. Don't just let things go. Don't
treat it like it's not.
Don't treat it like it's not important, right?
And that's what I see among Christians as much as anything. They treat either like it's taboo, don't talk about it, or they treat it like it's not important.
That's right.
We said all the time, if God placed such a high premium on it that he said, share it with one person.
Yep.
I don't think God was saying it's not important. He said, don't put it off.
That's right.
Don't resist one another. Don't turn each other down.
That's right.
That's how important it is to God.
1 Corinthians 7. Wow. We got to go for now.
Hope you have a great, intimate, passionate sexual relationship with your spouse. And again, hope it continues to improve. It's a good thing.
God created it.
Yep. Hey, your home matters. Until next time.
Bye-bye.